Hi, welcome to Shakti RealTalk. Uh, Today, our topic is winning in fitness and in life. With the COVID situation, I'm not sure about you, but I have been doing a little bit of binging on Netflix, maybe eating a little too much ice cream, maybe spending a little too much time in social media, all things that I tell myself not to do, but it happens anyway. So now today, our real talk is with Trent Clark. He is somebody who knows a little bit about fitness, just a little bit. Trent, you have coached sports teams, you have coached leaders. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you.
How do you coach your people?
Yeah, thank you, Deepa. It's exciting to be here again to talk a little fitness and talk a little bit about some life hacks. And I have started 12 companies. I'm an entrepreneur. Most people know me, though, because of my 13 years coaching in Major League Baseball and coached for the Detroit Tigers, the Cleveland Indians, and the Angels. And, of course, I three World Series there, and that's one from the 02 Angels, the only Angels World Series. So yeah, I was a strength and conditioning coach for athletes. So I was really about getting athletes prepared physically and mentally for what's about to happen next. And that was really, I've rolled that into a lot of different companies, and certainly in Leadershipity, we prep executives and leaders, CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, managing partners, the one percenters. I mean, in the same aspect of how do I come ready and prepared for everything that's about to happen. Of course, with COVID, we know we're not ready, right? We find out.
I was going to ask you the question, Trent, what's going to happen next? Please.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so that's the nice thing about sports and life, right? Like we can't predict what's going to happen, but we can. Right. We do anticipate, right? And we anticipate, hey, this is how some things might go, and we prepare for anticipating that. And that's such a head start on things. I don't like to be blindsided, right? Like when things are like, oh, and that was a tough one in March, right? Like, hey, we're shutting down the country for 2 weeks. And everyone goes, wait, what? like who prepared for that one, right? Like, I don't think anybody was. And even though we had a little snapshot of that did happen in China. We read a little bit about like, hey, so it wasn't
but
like
that was them. This is us, right?
That was way over there. That's not here. So, right. I think that even though we did have an ability that could happen, I don't really think we as a country at all did a very good job of anticipating that it was a realistic possibility.
Yeah. So, as I was mentioning, I am spending some time in social media, and guess what? Social media has a lot of experts. Everybody is an expert in social media. So now, Trent, question for you. Why should I listen to you versus all of my experts in social media? You tell me that.
That's right. That's right. I think that's a great question. I think it's one of the wisest questions, Deepa, you could ever ask. Because I like, yeah, I think like the old adage, like opinions are like noses. Everybody has one. And that's the clean version, by the way. So is that, that's a real factor. And I'll tell you that it's probably the wisest counsel I ever received as a young man. When I was 15 years old, I had a mentor that was a former major league player. And I sat down with him. I told him what I wanted to do. I want to be a major league player just like you one day. And I think I have what it takes. What do you think? And he told me, I think you have what it takes too. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. I go, but I got to tell you that a lot of people have told me I don't. So many people very close to me, friends, family members, coaches that I trusted have told me, you're not going to make it. You're not big enough. You're not fast enough. You're not strong enough. And in my mind, I kept hearing, you're not enough, Trent. You're just not enough. And it was really playing a role. And we're going to talk a little bit later probably about self-talk, right? And how that helps our fitness in life. But it was a big deal. And he said something very important to me. He said, hey, Trent, let me ask you a question. How many of those people that you're talking to played in the major leagues? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. None of them. And he said, oh, really? None of them. He said, I'd be really cautious about where you get your advice from. I would really seek high quality advisors to help you get to where you want to go and get there faster. And I tell you, I've used that great piece of advice throughout my life. And that's now 35 years later. And I can't tell you the thousands of executives and athletes I've passed that advice on to.
So you're basically saying, do not listen to all of my friends on social media. Is that the gist of your advice?
Yeah, that's exactly what, and I'm not saying there's not good advice out on social media, right? We just have to qualify, hey, where are we going to get that advice? And what gives them qualifications to tell me? And I think this is one of the things we challenged with in the coaching business, is that there's a lot of weekend coaching certifications. Like, hey, I went and got a coaching certification this weekend, so now I'm a good coach. And in our company, it's very important that we coach from experience. And that's one of the things I want when I want to seek advice. I want someone from a coach or a mentor that's been in the seat that I'm either in or about to go into before, who goes, oh,
Gotcha.
let me tell you what's about to happen. Because, hey, Deepa, she's been there before, and she's going to tell you the 3 things you really need to watch out for. Why, if here's a crossroads, Deepa, and you're advising me, and hey, crossroads left is hey, unicorns and rainbows, right? Like, hey, this is smooth sailing, clear path, really smooth. The other path, very rocky, mountainous, difficult, steep grades. Oh, also a dragon. So watch out for the fire, because you will be burned. And like, I would recommend, because I've been down this path before and felt the fire, that you not take that path on that way and take the unicorn and rainbows and smooth path, because it is a quicker, smoother, faster path. And I'm like, whoa, you've been there before? I don't need the path of the dragon to feel the fire. I want to go down that path.
So staying at the Holiday Inn Express is not enough.
Yeah, I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. It's probably not enough
Not
credibility indicator to tell me I should go into the lion's pen, right?
That sounds good. So one of the things, so we're talking about fitness, right? And one of the things that I keep hearing, and I've experienced the same thing myself, is I want to be fit. I mean, I really want to be fit. And when I talk to people, everybody knows the importance of it, but knowing that and doing it are 2 different things. So from your experience, how do you reconcile that? I mean, you want something, if you want something so bad, shouldn't it happen? Why do why do we not do it?
Yeah, I think there's a big gauge between interested versus committed, right? And I think that you've touched on something very important, which is, what's our reason? And, the Simon Sinek, what's your why? Why do you want this? And, in our line of business, we have to have a very clear picture of the reasons why we want to be healthier, the reasons why we want to have this in the life, the reasons why we want things to be different, both positive and sometimes negative, like the negative side of what may happen if I don't do this. And from a fitness side, it's relatively easy, right? Heart disease, diabetes, obesity, constant healthcare costs. I mean, all of these things can come about, and those are very, dire, right? That are more longer term. Hey, we're probably not going to get diabetes on Saturday because we didn't work out tomorrow, right? So we recognize that there's more long term to that, but it's this day for that day, right? If I want to be somewhere, there's a lot of this days for that day. If I want to be 25 pounds down in my weight, that day is going to come, and that day may take 1 year from now. So I've got 365 this days. What did I do this day? This day I ate well. This day I stayed to my schedule. This day I did my workout. Tomorrow's another this day. All this day. What did you do today? This day for that day. In the interested versus committed, I'm very interested, let's say, in working out. So I may go online and research some workout programs, and I may go online and research some great nutrition, and I may go to my expert sources and say, hey,
from Lululemon and Atlanta.
I may go shopping and look at some outfits of also motivation of some suits I could wear after these 25 pounds come off, like looking dapper. All those things I may do. I'm very interested in that. I could be interested in the right foods. I'm interested in the program. I might even look at how I might lay that out. And boy, I sound pretty interested, but interested isn't committed. Committed, you'll know I'm committed because I'm up at 5:30 on the treadmill, on the bike, on the run, doing our work, committed. We go to lunch and you'll see what I order. Oh, he's pretty committed to this weight loss because he's not getting high fatty foods. He's not getting a lot of dairy. He's not getting these things that tends to carry weight, right? So we change our diet, and the commitment to me is doing. If you're committed, you're doing, and everyone knows you're committed because they see you doing. If you're interested, you're talking a lot, but maybe not necessarily doing a lot, right? Like, oh, I'm really interested in this.
Thinking, talking, social media, that's not
enough,
right?
Researching, analyzing, shopping. I'm committed when I start doing. Right. And so that's where, and that's everything, right? Are you interested in the promotion? Are you committed to the promotion? Are you interested in the relationship? Are you committed to the relationship? And you can cross this. This will cross across all sorts of life hacks and life engagements that come again and again. And people are seeing the difference and they're watching you, right? Like, as I talk to a lot of people who want to raise up in their role or in their company, grow and develop, people are seeing right now, are you interested or are you committed? And people are gauging you in whatever seat you're in today. Have they seen your commitment to give you more responsibility?
Gotcha. I want to say that my dogs are very committed to fighting right now.
Oh, I can't hear them in the background. Yeah. Maybe we'll hear some growls in the background.
Playing and fighting right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. They're committed.
I hope they
like that.
Their commitment kind of wraps down a little bit.
I'm sure they get interested and start barking at each other, and just start talking.
I mean, they're already starting to bark at each other. So you talked about interested versus committed. Then you talked about, I think earlier you talked about, what was the earlier topic that you talked about as well, which is...
well, we talked about where you get your expertise. Where do you get that information?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Who do you choose?
Right. Okay.
Who do you choose as a trusted advisor?
So now, okay, so you did all the research. I love what you said about this day versus that day, because for us, that day never comes, but today is today. Today is the day where you need to do things, not because in a lot of the cases, it's like, diabetes, it's not going to come. Heart disease is not going to come. My, knee problems are not going to happen. Back problems are not going to happen, right? Because it's not today. In the future, if it happens, we don't care much about it. So, so we don't regret things much, right? So because of which you don't do anything. And I know there is one thing that you talk about a couple of regrets. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that it's such a challenge when you talk about, hey, how do we get there? And that day, it seems so far away, and it's so important for us to envision what that day looks like. It's a little easier, I think, sometimes for athletes, because they're like, oh, the day I get I make the varsity team. The day I get to get the ring, right? The day I sign a college scholarship or a pro contract, or we win the conference. These things aren't so far out, and we're moving towards it. And so I think there's that day, and it's almost ritualistic in our environment. But so is the day I get the new car. Now I've earned enough money where I can afford a new car. And the day I get the promotion, I'm respected in my community. And the day, all those things that we make up in our minds, but we can visualize those things, right? But I like to remind people there are two pains in life, right? The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And you choose. You get to choose. Right? Like it's very simple. Like, this day, are you going to be self-disciplined this day for that day? That may be 1 year away. It may be 5 years away. It may be 2 months away. But we win by being disciplined every single day. This day, I'm disciplined. I get it. And so what happens is I call discipline is acute pain. It doesn't last forever. I mean, you and I have been through hard trail runs. We've been through hard classes of fitness, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. How sore are we going to be tomorrow? All those things. And we are sore the next day, but amazingly, 72 hours later, miraculously, you're not that sore anymore and
Yeah.
you're probably fine, right?
Yeah.
I find to be regret is a chronic pain. And I've talked to, all the Navy SEALs and the high level football players who all have gone through exercises that have taken their physical exertion to illness, right? Vomiting and very difficult challenge, personal physical stress. I've never heard them talk about that discipline in any regretful way ever. They talk about what they accomplished behind that because the discipline they had to do it. Now, conversely, I have had probably 100 conversations at minimum, probably many more than that, with former athletes, former opportunistic executives, business owners who regretted not being disciplined. And they talk about those regrets 30, 50, 70 years later, that they remember like it's yesterday, those regrets. This pain is still chronic and they can bring it up anytime. And I've seen it so high of a level that you'll recognize this at a corner where someone comes in every day after work and their regret is so strong that immediately following it, they can't wait till they can get a substance in their body that will minimize the pain of that regret. And it's horribly sad. It's horribly debilitating, and it's absolutely terrible to be a spectator and watch it. But this COVID time, more than ever, has really challenged us, right? Because we need self-discipline. We want to be self-disciplined. I can tell you the top 1 to 5% have this trait. Typically, they have a very strong self-discipline, a higher level. And for us that don't always, we get really smart about bringing people along aside us that can help hold us accountable, like a person like me as a coach or a personal trainer that I go see, and they hold me accountable. Like I don't miss workouts because I pay them, right? And you hold me accountable to the work. And then all stopped with COVID. Like, oh, I could go on Peloton and do the workout.
Or not.
Or not, or I could eat bonbons and watch my, 14th episode of a Netflix series, right?
Right.
And listen, for us that have been athletes where you've had to be multidisciplined in a lot of things in a moment in your life, we're still human, right? And humanity is going to go the path of least resistance. And I can tell you, for me, when I was on the road and in the pro game and all that, and I finally finished my day at 10:30 at night, and I'm thinking, hey, this is my time. I probably need to go get 45 minutes or an hour of workout, or I could do room service and bonbons, and watch it and see what's on HBO, right? Like,
Right.
and it's very easy to go, wow, I really want to do that work? So do we do some of that? Sure, we do. And guess what? You lose some days, right? This day I wasn't very disciplined, and today I lost. And I probably didn't get better today the way I'd like to get better a little bit every day. And as I'm driving towards that day, today was a setback. But tomorrow I'm going to get back up and I'm going to win this day, right? Because I can do something about it tomorrow and I can change that. And that's really critical for folks, because if you win the day, let's say 5 of the 7 days of the week, well, you won the week.
Right.
And then next week you win 5 of 7. And then the week after that, you win 6 of 7. And then you start winning 6s, 7s every week, right? You win the weeks, you win the month. And then you start winning the months, right? Like, hey, 27 really good days, 28 good days. Now you start winning the quarters. You start winning the quarters, you start winning the years, right? And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wow, have you seen Deepa? She's just committed. Look at her. She's always moving ahead. Yeah. Always winning.
Very cool. Very cool. So the formula basically is all the things that you talked about, right? It's like really winning the day. It's taking one day at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there's also that self-talk. And I think this has been probably the toughest thing for us during this COVID is this downright downturn of us being mired with us, right? And and not interacting in those relationships. And we're also closely knit in the comfort of all of our loved ones.
Yep.
And we have the professional kindness. Hello, Deepa. Good to see you at work. Oh, yeah, your hair looks great. Yeah, at home it's like, I don't know, somebody go do laundry. We're not so kind all the time to our closest loved
Not
ones,
like
right?
how it is at home.
Yeah. And we push each other's buttons a little bit. And we know the triggers for everybody, and we're not feeling good. So you know what, if I don't feel good, maybe you shouldn't feel good either. And we press buttons, and it's easy. And
Yeah.
probably like we're probably not so great at encouraging each other all the time at home as good as we,
Right.
and that's something probably we could work on, and probably we found we should work on that more, is what we found from this experience. But that's a real challenge, because that negative self-talk can take us into abyss. It'll start losing our days. And conversely to winning, right? It's the same way. Hey, if I went and I worked out 3 days of the last 70, and I was disciplined 3, and then 67 I wasn't, I am going to start facing some of those real downturn effects, right? Of weight gain, of higher cholesterol, of, poor, potential pre-diabetes, all these things that can happen by poor choices that happen again and again and again. Those snowball too.
Yeah.
So it's a tough thing, but we've got to take it a day at a time, for sure.
Cool. This is awesome, Trent. So it is, again, it's not like you set a goal and it's just going to magically happen. There are things that we need to do to kind of talk to ourselves. There are things that we need to do every day, and actions that we have to take every day, and maybe bring other people with, so that they're going to hold us to do some of these things.
Yes.
And it's a combination of all these things to make it happen, right?
Yeah, and I like the fact that someone.
Hey, thank you so much, Trent. Anything last before we?
Yeah, I would say lastly, I think if you're going for a goal, whatever that goal is, whatever that day for you, becomes, I think it's really important to set that, but don't be afraid to break that into smaller, more achievable things, like per month. If you got 25 pounds for the year, it's 2 pounds a month, right? So we can break that into a more achievable, and we can stay focused on seeing some minor victories along the way. It's really great when I say, hey, I'd love to lose 2 pounds, and this month I lost 4.5, right? Hey, I'm really on my way to victory, and maybe I'll even move to my goal faster, but I'm going to stay the course, and we see how it's working. Plan the work the plan. And I think that's really important. And so I'm thankful for joining you today, and hopefully shining some light on self-discipline and running through the pandemic and winning at fitness and life.
Thank you. You absolutely did. Thank you so much. And that's it, everybody. I hope to see you again later. Thank you, Trent.
Thank you.